Pep Talk UK, Pro Bees. Remember, subscribe, and I'm delighted to be joined once more by the head of the MTK Foundation, boxing expert, and ESPN Plus analyst, Spencer Fearon. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm tired. I just did a class at Sweat in the City. Then I've got a really good young amateur prospect who's a middleweight called Tiana Bailey that I'm working with. And remember, I'm telling you, like, this young girl, she's gonna blow.
Tiana Bailey, okay.
Yeah, she's gonna blow. Like, all the natural attributes. She's very tall as well. She must be about 6'1". Was she 168 in pounds? Really good. Her father, who's a big musician, he been on me for about the last year and a half, saying, Spence, can you help out my daughter? Can you help out my daughter? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, leave me alone, bro. But whereas he kept on just keep on pestering me, so I said, yeah. So I'm doing bits with her. I'm telling you that if she keeps her mind right, this young lady's gonna do fantastically well.
Yeah, and there is no better time than now with women's boxing to get involved, because you see the fights over the past year. We've seen some tremendous
100%. It is. I mean, women's boxing is thriving right now. So if you've got someone who's, you know what I mean, she must be 6'1", you know what I mean, very crisp puncher, tall, rangy. And if she's around somebody that's teaching her boxing history as well as boxing, so I mean, you can't ask for more than that.
It sounds like a South London version to Savannah Marshall. I just saw Savannah Marshall earlier in the week. Wow! I'm
gonna keep this thing real. Savannah Marshall's my girl. So yeah, so I've just done that. I've done a class and a Sweat in the City class as well. So I'm mash up from that. You know what I mean? With Ange and all the girls down there, and like the rest of the people out there. So I'm kind of mash up right now on my Sunday, but it's all good, man.
Yeah, all right. Well, we got to get in. Last night, controversial stoppage. Someone saying it was right. We saw Joe Joyce dispatch and stop Takam in 6. What did you make of the fight from start to the 6th stoppage?
I'm a fan of Joe Joyce. So if I say anything that is deemingly seen as critical, it's because I want you to do better, because I really do. Like, I've known Joe Joyce for years. You know what I mean? I'm tight with Sam Jones. But I believe that Joe Joyce needs to improve on things. I think it was like round 2. Yeah, round 2. Carlos Takam hit you with 6 overhand rights. He was looking to throw that shot from the first round, 6 overhand rights in one particular round. That shows to me that if you got hit twice with it, then you think, okay, then well, maybe I need to make some adjustments. So I think maybe Joe Joyce is very similar to Thomas the Hitman Hearns. I'm not saying in fighting in fighting style, but what I am saying is he's very good at taking instructions, but he doesn't freestyle. Do you get what I'm trying to say? You know what I mean? He's not like Talib Kweli. Talib Kweli can freestyle wicked.
Yeah,
Biggie Smalls weren't a freestyler. Biggie Smalls is the greatest of all times. Right? One of them ones. That's, you know what I mean? That's the analogy that I can make for Joe Joyce there. You know what I mean? With Thomas Hearns, Thomas Hearns was very good at listening to instructions. When he fought, when he fought Sugar Ray Leonard, what was that? June 12th, 1989, the second fight. And Ray Leonard got floored in the 11th round. It was, Ralph Citro that said to Tommy Hearns, who worked alongside Emmanuel Stewart, you can knock out Leonard if you go jab, right hand, left hook, you can be able to knock him out. And he went there, he threw it twice. jab right and left hook, jab right and left hook. He didn't get the knockout, but he floored Leonard. You know what I mean? Because they were seeing how Leonard was holding his hands, or was holding his hands. I see Joe Joyce is very similar to, he's good at taking instructions. You tell me instructions, doing he take to the T, but sometimes it seems like he's not a free thinker. And you proved that to me yesterday. If somebody can hit you with like 6 right hands, I mean, I did the fight along with it with Tundi, so we watched that fight intently. Yeah, I mean, and also when I was saying to people that this wasn't going to be an easy fight for Joe Joyce, and people was telling, I said he has to go bring his A game. I did the interview with my guy Raz on IFL, and the idiots in the comments, the idiots in the comments were saying, nah, what you talking about? Yeah, but they know now, right? Listen to me when I'm talking. I'm not talking for the sake of talking. Believe me, I'm not talking for the sake of talking.
Okay, so you said he took 6 unanswered rights, right?
No, it wasn't 6 unanswered. I'm saying it was in succession. He got hit with it, then he go on, then he throw it again, then go again. I'm saying obviously you should have read the game plan from the get-go. That Carlos Takam, the shorter man, Carlos Takam to me seemingly hurt Joe Joyce to the body a couple times as well. It's just that Joe Joyce is a ridiculously tough man. But I don't think that Joe Joyce should trade on that, because he puts his hands together methodically, but the guy is a very athletic guy. So he needs to start administering his athleticism inside the fights, because we have to remember that's Carlos Takam that he was in there with. It was a good win, but we're looking at it like the win is debatable simply because of the fact that he was on his feet. He argued with Steve Gray after, but you know what? I'd rather a fight end 2 seconds too early than 2 seconds too late.
Okay. Okay, so I think you know where I'm going next, all right? So the stoppage. All right. There are some people are outraged by that stoppage, right? I just
Why?
They think Takam had more left, right?
Well, listen.
Yeah.
Go on, continue.
All right. So they think Takam had a little bit more left, even though there were a concession of shots unanswered. When you look back at it, well, when some people look back at it, they'll say that he was just kind of getting himself together, you know, in survival mode. But
yeah, bro,
yeah,
it wasn't survival mode though, because he was getting hit with shots, whereas like he was just getting hit with shots. And if you're seeing a really big man, I told Joe Joyce 6'6"?
I think 6'6" or 6'7".
Right. And a man hits you with a straight right hand that jerks back your head, right? Steve Gray, that wasn't a premature stoppage to me, right? You got hit with shots and you had enough energy to push Steve Gray. You should have pushed Joe Joyce. You should have done something to show that you're still in the fight. You know what I mean? Like, and I said this earlier, that Carlos Takam, because of the size difference, should have been studying Joe Frazier, how Joe Frazier will be covering up and be rolling, or even studying Ken Norton, how Ken Norton would use the cross-arm defense. You wasn't doing that. So therefore, you're in with the home fighter, the house fighter, right? You're the opposing fighter. They're not going to give you no favors. So what you had to do, and you did, you fought really gallant. Right, a lot of people had that 5-0. I don't know how you scored it. You know what I mean? I did 4-1.
Okay.
Right, I did 4-1. I'm gonna be real. So, yeah, Carlos Takam, I don't think it was a sad wrong stoppage, because you wasn't firing back. When you get hit and you get hurt, you need to go out and fire back. And you know what I mean, you didn't do that, bro.
Okay, so how does that compare to, okay, there's 2 stoppages people are talking about, right, involving Takam. How does that compare to the one against Anthony Joshua, number 1? And number 2, people mentioned Carl Froch and Groves, the first fight. What's the difference?
Howard Foster was a referee in the Carl Froch in the cup, right? Howard Foster gets a lot of stick. But you know what? I've sat and spoke with Hal Foster a lot. You know what? When you're in there, you're in there. You're thinking about the safety of the fighter, and sometimes there is a bias to the house fighter. They ain't gonna talk about it, but there is a bias to the house fighter. I've said it. Referees have a bias to the house fighter. But there's been certain times when other referees have stopped fights. Other referees have stopped fights when it's not gone into the favor of the house fighter and they're complaining. So the game's the game. You know what I mean? The game's the game. And I can't compare that stoppage because that was what the fight with Joshua was.
I think it was around
4 years ago, right?
It was 2017. Yeah, 4 years.
4 years ago.
Yeah.
Carlos Takam's not the same guy that it was 4 years ago, right? I'm not making excuses for Anthony Joshua, but you know that Anthony Joshua went into that fight ill. I'm not making excuses for him, but he did go into that fight ill, and also
his nose was broken in that fight as well. It was, yeah.
Pardon me?
Wasn't his nose broken by Takam from a headbutt as well in that fight?
Yeah. His nose was broken, and you know what? And Anthony Joshua at that time was a work in progress. He's still a work in progress now. So 4 years ago, he definitely was a work in progress. You know what I mean? But he got the win, right? So when you say how does it compare? It doesn't, because it's different times. It's different pockets of time. But what I am saying is that they gave Takam time to prepare to go into a fight, and he fought amiably against Anthony Joshua, and he did the same last night. But with Takam, because the thing about it is this, we're saying like, how are we going to compare it? Surely we have to say like, the man who got the better win over Carlos Takam, Anthony Joshua, Joe Joyce, was Derek Chisora.
Well, the more explosive, emphatic knockout.
It was an emphatic. There's no arguments in that. You know what I mean? There was an argument with the Carlos Takam, Anthony Joshua. There's an argument with the Carlos Takam versus Joe Joyce. There was no argument, none at all, when Derek Chisora knocked him out, and he was beating Derek Chisora.
I think I saw you that night in the 02.
He stuck it. Yeah. Yeah, he stuck it on Derek Chisora like white on rice, my friend. He was serious. I mean, he was on him, and he got knocked out. So we could go round and round and round in circles and say like, well, like who got the better win, and like as much as it's such a repeated adjective of boxing, and it's very cliche, but styles actually do make fights. But what I'm saying is like, if Joe Joyce wants to mix with the top guys, properly mix with the top guys, and the top guys are the Wilders, the Dylan Whites, the Furies, and the Joshuas, right? He has to up his game.
Okay.
Right? He does.
In terms of defense, up his game.
I see flaws in Joe that I'll speak to him personally. I'll speak to Sam Jones personally about. You know what I mean? But I do see flaws, but you can't. Well, my thing is this: you cannot rely on toughness. You know what I mean? You can't rely on toughness, because I tell you this now: if water can erode mountains, you getting shots like that constantly takes its toll on you. It does. But I'm going to be real with you. You know the fight that I'd like to see? I'd like to see Derek Chisora versus Joe Joyce.
And that was mooted when he, I think, first turned over. They were trying to get that fight.
I remember that. But now, more than ever, I would like to see that fight. Because it'd be a fun fight. Don't get to Joe Joyce hits relatively hard, but he's not a concussive one-punch knockout. He's a wearer downer. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'd like to see that fight.
And now, well, Joe Joyce before the fight was made WBO mandatory for the winner of Joshua versus Usyk.
Yep.
It's got to be a bit of a wait, isn't there?
Yeah, there will be, but it is what it is. The game's a game.
Yeah, I know you're saying that, but I mean, when you think of like Dillian White was made mandatory, and the way it was like.
You know what I mean? We keep on talking about it, and I get confused and frustrated by the Dylan White situation. So I don't want to talk about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't.
All right. So okay. So Joe Joyce, I know you're saying he needs to make some improvement, but to conclude, how does he fare? You know, against the winner of Joshua versus Usyk, like how? Yeah. What can you kind of envision?
It's really weird. Yeah, I think that on yesterday's performance, I still think that he could beat Usyk, because I don't think now you're dealing with a big 35-year-old man. I don't think, even though Usyk's fantastically skilled, but I think Usyk's still a cruiserweight. But I think he would have an easier. I think Joe Joyce would have an easier time than beating Usyk than what Anthony Joshua would have against Usyk. It's a kind of weird one, but I'm just saying how it is.
So just to conclude, you mentioned that fight. That fight was officially made this week.
Yeah.
What do you see in this fight?
What do I see in this fight?
Joshua versus Usyk. How do you see it?
I got Joshua winning the fight. A lot of people. I was speaking to Archie Sharp yesterday. I rate Archie Sharp. He's got a good little boxing brain in him, and he believes that Usyk's going to beat Joshua. I don't. I think that as long as Joshua doesn't try to box with Usyk, you know what I mean, and tries to rough him up, then I think Joshua will win the fight. I think if Joshua's trying to enter into a boxing match with this guy, then you've definitely lost. You know what I mean? Definitely lost.
Okay, so on the basis of what we've seen of Usyk in his debut and against Derek Chisora.
No, that's why I'm saying in those two fights, Usyk didn't show me nothing. Usyk didn't show me nothing against Chaz Witherspoon, and he didn't show me nothing in Derek Chisora. But I'm thinking, oh my goodness gracious, Anthony needs to stay away from those guys. He showed me as a cruiserweight. I said, boy, he can move up. He's gonna be trouble. But now, unfortunately, Usyk hasn't shown me nothing. So I got Anthony Joshua. As long as Anthony Joshua doesn't fall into the psychology games which they bring, right? Then I've got Anthony Joshua dealing with him. Remember, Tony Bellew was up before he got stopped. Tony Bellew doesn't generate the power that Anthony Joshua generates. So if Anthony Joshua knows that he can generate that power, if he sticks it on him, he's going to win the fight. Right. And there's a couple of fights that Anthony Joshua needs to study and watch and properly watch, which I'll send him a message to. I'm tired of you know what I mean? But there's couple fights. The major fight for Anthony Joshua to watch is how Bernard Hopkins handles southpaws. He doesn't run from him. You know what I mean? He fights them with his left leg on their inside of their right leg. So we can trigger that right hand down. You don't believe me? Look what he done. Like he floored Antonio Otava. When he moved up 2 weights. You know what I mean? To fight Antonio Otava. So yeah, those things. That coming with the left hook is like a key shot for him in that fight. An old trainer called Frank Black used to train down at Lynn ABC. Used to train fighters down there. Used to have a lot of pro fighters as well. An old Jewish guy always used to say to me, like, when you're fighting a southpaw, if you can close distance, they could be southpaw, orthodox, or square up front with you. It makes no difference because you've closed that distance. So if you can close the distance, when you fight them at range, then they're difficult to fight. So I think that would be one of the things that he would need to do, that Anthony Joshua would need to do, to close distance on Usyk and don't allow him to run around and skip around the ring. And if you can do that, then yeah. But what I think that Usyk and those guys are banking on in his team, I mean, Lomachenko's dad, I think that what they're banking on is taking Anthony Joshua into later rounds, thinking that he'll gas out and then trying to put in the shots on him. But we shall see. I mean, the fight's only, we got 2 months to go. So we got something to look forward to. And I'm really going to be looking forward to it.
Cracking stuff. All right, Spencer, man. Been a pleasure, as always, man. Anything else?
Come on, man. Nah, nothing else, man. Just keep it positive, keep it 100. I'm doing something next week for MTK Global Foundation, which is box positive. This guy, Chris, was it Deval? He works with people who are recovering from Parkinson's syndrome by boxing for helping their motor neural skills. So they were like one of the first people that we helped out financially with the foundation. So I'm going down there to visit those people, spending 2 days down there. So I'm looking forward to that. All right, my brother.
All right, Spencer Fearon, Pet Talk UK.
Peace, 2 fingers. Love you.
Cheers, man.